seaside one, the sand.
Right, I'm going to do a very quick watercolour demo today. So later next year, I think in about March, I thought I'd go into watercolours in a bit more depth, perhaps spending a month on watercolours. So January will be oils or acrylics. February is things like textures and greens and foliage, and then going to watercolours. I wasn't quite sure what to do today, but this was one picture I took of snow quite a while ago of Southend High Street, which I quite like. The other two that I did with the other classes, I kind of went more landscapey, which were those two. And I remembered my winter photos today. They're not fantastic photos, I'm afraid, and I've run out of photo paper, so they're just on ordinary paper, but they're there somewhere if you want to use those. Right, yeah, we've also got, people brought chocolates and things like that, so we'll start passing those around and then have them at as well. Yeah, so with something like this, I'm thinking really, kind of thinking on my feet how to go about this, to be honest. I'm thinking perhaps to get the background washes in first, and the way I tend to approach watercolours is going from the lighter tones to the dark, so more or less the opposite of what I do with oils. So I'm thinking these light yellows here, which are rather nice. I like that kind of glowing light in the background, and then I like the contrast between the warm and then the slightly cooler pinky greys. So I'll start with something yellow. I'm going to start really with a wash. So this is cadmium yellow, just like the cotton one. So we'll try that. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre as well.
Nice pastel colours in this one, isn't there? The
Sorry?
pinks and the orange, nice pastel colours.
Yeah. With watercolours, ideally you'd want your paper just at a very slight angle. But so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put this a bit more vertical. So that can be some of the yellows here. And got me a rag. Let's just drain that. And just soak up.
Kitchen towels, Paul?
Sorry?
Do you want some kitchen towels?
Actually, I've got kitchen towels. I'll improvise. The time just went really quickly today. Oh, look, that's
I'll leave it there in case you need it.
okay, cheers. I don't know where the time went this morning. It seemed like we had loads of time, then it had all gone. Right, I can suck that up. And then for this grey, I'll use a little bit of purple. So some magenta and I think this is cobalt or ultramarine. And then just a little bit of brown just to grey that down a little bit. With watercolours, it's quite an idea to have a bit of scrap paper to just test colours out on. So I'm just adding some water and making sure that you've got a big enough brush and to be able to get the washes in quite quickly. So I think that's quite nice. Put a little bit there. Maybe it will dry a tiny bit lighter, so maybe better going a little bit, tiny bit darker. I find with watercolour it's an awful lot of practice and just getting experience with the colours and the mixes, so I tend to pick quite simple subjects for myself with watercolour. I don't make it too challenging. I think I can pretty much go through the figures because they're darker. So in that sense, it's quite a good one for watercolours. I've sketched them out a little bit in pencil first. So that can be that area. And then I'm probably going to need this to dry quite quickly. So ideally you'd want to just let that dry off. And this is where it becomes quite a challenge trying to kind of wanted that wet in wet still there, but that's already dried, so that's not ideal. So that bit I probably would have wanted that's not really gone that well. So that can be that wash anyway. So probably this bit will stay wet, which is the bit I want to dry, and the other bit. I might be able to, I'll just use a little bit of kitchen towel, just lift that out a tiny bit. That's not really how I like to work. That's softened it a little bit, just doing that. Yeah, that's better. And then, once that's dry, I can then pop another layer and gradually add these other elements.
Would the next layer be a thicker type of paint, or would it be the same consistency?
A little bit thicker, yeah, because I'm going to aim not to use white. So, and that should be possible. I could even have lifted a little bit of this out here. It could even have gone a bit darker in there. Perhaps we'll do that a little bit darker there. So slightly stronger mix. And I've gone a little bit smaller brush and added a little bit of red too. It's still too wet. Let's mix it over here. So these warm sort of glowing areas, going a little bit darker. And I'm just going to use some clean water just to soften that edge out. So I don't want to get that area too wet, otherwise it will just run, but it will just give me a softer edge. So that can be that bit there. I could have done the same down here as well. And then go in with the thicker, slightly thicker lavender colours. And again, it would be a good idea to test them out. It's probably going to be alright for here, but you might be able to break that down into 2 or 3 tones there. So, probably want that to dry. Brush. Some darks kind of down to here. I'm just kind of suggesting something going on in there. We've got a little bit of street furniture. Watercolour is very nice for getting these sharp marks, and it's definitely easier to. There's some things that are easy to achieve. That's still a little bit wet there, so it's not going down quite. A lot of it is just getting used to the timing, how wet and how wet the paper is, things like that.
You get lovely marks with it, don't you?
Yeah. It's something I quite like to do a little bit more of in the new year. I quite fancy just practicing all the different mediums. I pretty much stick to oils for my own work. I really feel like I'd like to explore some of the others in a bit more depth. Right, so I'll just go a little bit dark and start to suggest the figures. And then hopefully get an idea of where it's heading. So again, similar sort of colours, they're kind of lavendery greys. So there's blues, browns and crimsons in this. And this, yeah, when I took this photo, I think it was actually snowing. It was, so you've got this lovely kind of atmospheric look where you're looking through the atmosphere. So I don't want to go, kind of want it a little bit darker, but I don't want to go too dark.
You took this photo?
Yeah, years ago.
Did you use a special camera or?
No, just I think I was out shopping with my family, and I just always have a camera with me, and just whip it out of my bag, and just a little. They're not just little digital cameras. They're nothing special.
I'm surprised it's picked up like such pastel-y colours.
Yeah, it's just how it came out. It's just every now and then I get a fortune. after a few thousand photos. But I literally do. I just keep the camera with me and I stop all the time. I did painting up in London yesterday and then taking photos on the way back and around. And I ended up with thousands and thousands of them. That's where, all these photos, most of these photos, apart from ones I was given, have been just me out and about doing my thing and taking a few photos. And then they're either useful for me teaching or useful for students to use. So, yeah, that wants to be a bit lighter at the top, which can be harder to achieve. Just pop something in here. I think the nice thing would be to actually alter the colours as you're working, so it's maybe a little bit warmer here, then slightly darker there. But I don't want to give you a chance to get on yourself. And then slightly, a little bit of red in the mix. Come here, but I want to keep it fairly subtle. So this leg that's coming forward, very slightly lighter, and the other one can go a little bit darker. And that helps give the impression of movement. And letting that blur in a little bit.
What size brush is that, Paul?
About 10 or 12. Something like that, yeah. I think with any painting, I try and go with as big a brush as I can manage, really. And, oops, that's gone wrong. Yeah, there should have been a bit of gap there. Oh my God, no. Just grey that out. Tiny bit, yeah. Yes, I just want to get the sense of that foot being slightly in front. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. I hope you get a bit of an impression, an idea of this sort of build up. And you could actually do more, the way this snow is slightly different, you can have all that wet and then perhaps some slightly darker marks in, that might be a better thing to do. But if you went with that general approach, building up the layers, lighter colour, probably start with the warmer, then go with the cooler, and then gradually build from light to dark.
But with oils, you go dark to light.
Yeah, generally dark to light. Yeah.
It's pretty unforgiving, isn't it?
Very unforgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, watercolour is, isn't it?
This,
But then you get all those lovely accidental marks. So that top right corner, just above the umbrella to the right, you've got all these.
Yeah.
There's all these nicer.
Yeah, it's can be quite nice and quite suggestive of
architecture,
can't it?
And then you don't have to necessarily be specific with all those what looks like windows. You can just sort of leave it a bit.
Yeah, and some of that, once that is definitely quicker to pop down with the watercolours than painting with oil.
It's not necessarily.
Okay, right.